Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Sophia and I are so excited to be here with you today as part of this Surviving Holiday Heartbreak webinar series. And today we are talking about survival secret number 4. This is the 4th webinar, which is a super, super important topic, and that is embracing your body. And there is no one that I would rather speak with about and pull out her wisdom than Sophia on this. She is just absolutely an amazing woman. And so first and foremost, we are grateful that you're here today with us to talk about this topic, which I know might feel a little tender, but is also a key aspect in your healing when you are struggling with heartbreak, whether it's right now during the holidays or beyond into next year. So thank you. Thank you for being here. If you are watching the replay, feel free to chime in your questions in the box, and they come directly to me. If I can't answer it, I'm happy to forward it on to Sophia, and we're here first and foremost to support you. So be sure to do that. You should see a little chat box on the side where you can put in your comments. And we want this to be really interactive, so feel free to make comments, ask questions, and we are here for you for an entire hour. We're going to go the full hour, and be sure to watch it all the way through, because at the end, Sophia has a really beautiful, gracious gift that she is providing to you, and I don't want you to miss out on how to grab that gift, so make sure to stick around. All right, so first and foremost, I just want to say how amazing Sophia is and how lucky you guys are to be able to hear from her today. She is one of my favorite people who is in the same area of coaching that I am, except she specializes in being a dating coach for curvilicious women, which I just love. I love that. And, you know, no matter what your body type, we are all so beautiful and we're all struggling in this life. And Sophia I love how she brings her gentleness and her compassion and her ability to really take women through this process and show them the possibility, no matter what their size, to stop waiting, start dating, she says. And I love that. That is so beautiful. I can't tell you how many of my clients say, you know, if I could only lose some weight, then I could, you know, get out there. And Sophia is just so all about going out there, being your authentic self, owning your body. And so we're going to dive more deeply into that today. And also, before we dive in, I want to make note that if for some reason we seem like we're dropping off or cutting out, hang on. We will pop back up, and sometimes, you know, just technology can be a bitch. So we're going to hang in there with you as you're hanging in there with your heartbreak, and we're going to get through this together. We are not alone. So I want you to know that we'll be back. Just hang on. So Sophia, I would love for you to share maybe just a little bit about what you'd like people to know about you and your work so that they can get to know you.
All right, I think you can hear me now. And are you muted now? Okay. Oh, because I can't hear you anymore.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
For some reason, I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Oh.
So that's perfect.
Okay, let me try turning my camera off and on. Maybe that'll do it. Okay, well, if you can hear me, I'll keep going.
Perfect.
Because I'm not sure where the camera is. It was working fine, and then we went live, and of course, all technology crashes. It's just the way it works.
Of course.
So a little bit about me. Well, gosh, so I've been a coach for about 2.5 years, but before that, I worked in the corporate and academic sectors, and I was always drawn to working with in jobs and in positions where I would connect with people and support them. And for most of my life, I actually struggled with my own body. Growing up, I was pretty athletic, and then in my 20s and 30s, ended up gaining quite a bit of weight, and my weight would fluctuate up and down by like 100 pounds, which is significant amounts of weight. And it's so interesting because every time I would gain or lose weight, I noticed that everybody felt that they had the right to comment. And I remember always being shocked, no matter what they said, shocked by the fact that they felt that it was okay to say, oh gosh, you've lost some weight, you look great. Or, oh, it looks like you've gained a little bit of weight. Like, what's going on? And it was just this whole thing that started, and it really confused me. And it really had me start to question my identity in a lot of ways, my sense of self-worth, and absolutely my confidence. Professionally, I felt very confident because, I had training, I had an undergrad and a master's, and like I knew what I was doing. But in my personal life, it felt very different. It was like, so what was my source of confidence? I guess it's how I look, because that's what everyone is commenting on. And it was so it started to manifest differently when it came to men as well. I started to, especially when I was in the heavier parts of the heavier years, I guess, as my weight would fluctuate. I started to get into this space that I know is true for a lot of women, where it's like, oh, well, if he doesn't like me, it must be because of my weight. It must be because of what I look like. Or if they did like me, I would say to myself, well, it kind of doesn't matter if I really like them or not. I'm just going to go for it anyway, because, they like me. And that's such a disempowered way to live. And because it's like I'm constantly telling myself what I want doesn't matter, because it all depends on how I look. And that's just, it really starts to take a toll, and then you start to believe it. And I knew this in myself, and I absolutely see this in my clients that I work with now. And so what happened was I kept getting into relationships where I was not the empowered one. And I have, in coaching, we talk a lot about our saboteurs or our gremlins, this like inner self-limiting beliefs. And mine was always people pleaser. And it was like my people pleaser went crazy and took over my life, because if I felt like I was unattractive, then I would want to act in a way that would have men like me. And so what I was noticing is that whenever I was in people pleaser mode, I was actually essentially saying to myself that I was not worthy of just being myself. So I had a lot of moments where this kind of came to a head, and I realized that this was not healthy for me. I was really getting down on myself. I started to become quite secluded, like stopped wanting to go out to social gatherings. If I wanted to hang out with friends, it'd be like, no, you just come to my place. I also have struggled with binge eating my whole life, and it really started to take over my life. Like a typical Friday night might be coming home from work, and basically watching, I don't know, like easily 7-8 hours of some TV show. And that's the problem with TV shows being so good now. It's so easy to sit and watch for 7 hours. And eat like 2 bags of potato chips and, 2 Haagen-Dazs ice creams. Like it really, I was constantly in this state of not wanting to feel or be with my body, be with myself. And yeah, it was getting really, really bad. And I had several moments and several people who really loved me give me some wake-up calls in terms of self-love, as opposed to building on the shame that I was actually feeling. And so I started getting help. I went to an eating disorder therapist and started to understand what was going on with my body and within me. I started going to a coach and started working on self-love and body acceptance and really getting my feet underneath me in terms of quieting that people pleaser saboteur and starting to make better choices for myself, actually choosing what I wanted, choosing who I wanted to hang out with or what men I wanted to date because I liked them or didn't like them, not can I get them to like me.
Yeah.
So a number of things shifted in that way. And that's really what led me to becoming a coach. I saw the transformation that this work had in me, and I so loved it. And I took a coaching course and wanted to actually, I was managing people at the time, and I took a coaching course because I thought, oh, this will be a great way to be a manager. And like, these are great skills, the way that you listen and the way you ask questions, the way you support people. And then I took the courses and I fell in love with it so much that I realized, oh my gosh, I think I have to quit my job. I was working as a sales director and it was a great job, but I just thought, oh, this is my higher calling. I have to do it. So I did. I quit my job 2 years ago. And since then have been working a lot with women around things like leadership, body, dating, relationship. And then this year I've really started to focus in on plus size, curvy, voluptuous, whatever, really any woman who feels like how she relates to her body maybe getting in the way of her living her best life. So that's why I say I am a dating coach for Curvalicious Ladies.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your story and really just being vulnerable with us. And, I can't tell you how many people I've interviewed to talk about body image, and they have never admitted to the eating multiple bags of potato chips and the Haagen-Dazs ice cream. And I think it's so important for us to really witness each other's stories so that we, are vulnerable and we don't feel so alone. My goodness.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I really wish we could see you, Sophia.
I know. I don't know what I'm trying to troubleshoot my camera, but I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. And you tried to turn it off and on again?
I did several times. I know. It was so funny. It was totally fine. Yeah.
Well, isn't it interesting how we're doing about embracing our bodies and we can't see you?
I know. I'm just going to go into the settings really quick here and maybe.
Okay, you do whatever you need to do, and I'll just reflect while you do that. I really love this topic because especially when you're heartbroken, right? It's like the first thing that I hear my clients say is like, well, I just probably wasn't good enough, or I'm feeling like I'm not worthy. And so much of that as women comes down to feeling like it has to do with our physical appearance, right? And this body that we are living in. And one thing that I know I've also experienced this with myself. Well, maybe if I was just a little bit prettier, his like next girlfriend after me was like gorgeous and looked this way and, is everything that I'm not. And like, we immediately go into kind of this, like, if I was this, then I wouldn't be heartbroken. And
oh, so true.
So, yeah. So I'd love for you to like speak to this piece of like, first and foremost, like, why do we go there as women when we are in the pain of heartbreak? And then, what can we maybe do to like start to shift that belief?
Gosh, why do we go there? I think this is oh my gosh, this is such a huge question, isn't it? I think, if we look at the macro level, I think there's so much in society and the way girls are raised and the images that we see in the greater cultural context around, it must be me. It must be my fault. Like, I must have done something wrong. And And it's heartbreaking. I mean, that's the piece around women. I love Brene Brown does so much beautiful work on this, right? The whole living wholehearted, the belief in worthiness, how she has people write on their hands, I am worthy. And how even writing that on your hand feels like some kind of rebellion of sorts, as opposed to us just growing up believing it. And I'm very optimistic, and I tend to believe that we're not raised this way maliciously. I know there are some conspiracy theorists that would disagree, but I don't think this is anything that is negative on purpose. But so what I'm getting at here, not very eloquently, is that there's a lot to overcome in terms of some of those core beliefs about who we are as women and our worthiness. And this is why I think the macro is always going to be the macro. Marketing is always going to be marketing. It's always, it's starting to change. Great. And we can't wait on external forces to conform to how we want them to be. We can be advocates and we can do our work. Like I love being a body positive advocate. I've reclaimed the word fat. I put it out there, and I can't go around waiting until everything else changes. So this is where I think the coaching work, this is where I think the deep internal work becomes so important, because what we can absolutely do and have choice over and have control over, to the extent that we ever have control over anything, is begin to build resilience within ourselves, so that if someone has us feel less than, it doesn't destroy us. This is the key, right? This is the key to confidence and self-worth. I think it really is resilience and a fundamental belief, or even a reparenting. I think as adults, we tend to reparent ourselves, or reprogram old beliefs, or let go of old assumptions, whatever it is. And everyone's story is different. But we have to get to that dark part of ourselves that doesn't believe in our own worth and look at it. There's some great work that is, I'm studying to become a neuroscience coach, which is so freaking cool. It's kind of like an additional training. Yeah. And, I'm getting trained by a company called Be Above Leadership. And they have this beautiful work that is built off of Dr. Mario Martinez's work around our core wounds and our healing fields to counter those core wounds. So for example, if one of our core wounds is shame, and for a lot of women who struggle with their body, or who have grown up in bodies that were not, quote unquote, the norm, or, the acceptable, whether it was size or color or shape, whatever it is, there's often great shame instilled in us as children and as teenagers, right when so much of ourselves are forming, our tender selves. And when we have this core wound of shame, it really leads to a feeling of helplessness, a feeling of being stuck, a feeling of not being able to move forward. And the healing field, the way to heal shame and to move past it, is this beautiful word that I love and that is so hard to do, which is honor. So it's honoring ourselves deeply. And one of the ways to think about this that I love in this work that I've been studying is it's sometimes, for a lot of us, it's really hard to think, well, what does that mean to honor myself? Okay, so self-love, self-care have become buzzwords. I'm really glad they're buzzwords, but what does that actually mean? So one of the ways to think about this is to think about, if I had someone so special coming to my house, how would I honor them? That all of a sudden feels easier, right? So just like, what would you do if you had someone super special? Let's say like someone you really admire. Like for me, it'd be like if Oprah came to my house.
Me too.
Right?
Same person.
Right? Like what would you do? Like what are some of the things? Like how would you create beauty in the space, for example?
Oh my goodness. Right. Like I would completely like redo things. I would bring in flowers and candles and like delicious foods of all different colors and pillows.
Oh,
Yeah.
Totally. I love that. Cause that's exactly what I would do too, as well. I'd be like, I would clean top to bottom.
Mhm.
I would probably research like, what is Oprah? I mean, she's always talking about her favorite things. So maybe some of her favorite things would be in my space all of a sudden. And it would definitely be like the fancy plates and the fancy towels and the beautiful sheets. And, you know, cause I'm assuming Oprah and I are going to have a slumber party. And yeah, so even thinking about it in that respect and like, another way to, so honoring, so there's the physical space, but then there's how would you honor someone else in terms of the way we engage with them, you know, physically, emotionally, spiritually, right? There would probably be a lot of compassion and love and respect and tenderness and curiosity. I mean, that all speaks to honoring.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I love this. And when you said honoring, what came to me was that self-compassion piece.
Which is huge.
Like, but then it's like, it's both, like you're saying, it's almost this, I used to be a self-care coach.
Nice. Yeah.
Because I was a people pleaser like you.
Yep.
And so it's almost like I'm seeing it as bringing these two sides together of like this deep self-compassion of like loving myself where I am and still treating myself like this divine goddess, like we would treat, you know, our best friends or somebody even more highly acclaimed, like you were saying, like Oprah. I love this, right?
Absolutely.
And it brings this feeling of like, we are all worthy of this level of treatment, and yet we do not give it to ourselves.
This is the key, right? It's so much easier for us to think about this for others. And then, you know, once you list all these beautiful things that you would do to honor a loved one or someone really special that you're excited to have in your space, it's like, okay, so which of these do you need to give yourself permission to do for yourself? And that's, for me, that's fascinating because it really quickly highlights the gap between how we honor others and how we honor ourselves.
Yeah.
I see this all the time. I do a lot of workshops around, you know, all sorts of things like body confidence, around, you know, of course, relationships and dating and love. And there's one of the exercises that I'm sure, you know, a number of people have done and that I really like using as well is where, you know, you partner up with someone and you share with them your intuition about them, all the things you think are wonderful about them. And oftentimes it's women who don't know each other, right? So all of a sudden, you know, and for so many of the women, this is very emotion invoking. So people will get very teary-eyed and it's like, wow, you see me. Like I never would think that I have a pretty, it could be a physical attribute like, oh, wow, you think I've got, you know, nicely sculpted arms? Amazing. Like I kind of hate my arms. Like we're always looking at the negative parts of ourselves, which is dishonoring, whether it's physical or whether it's how we live in the world. And I think it's really important to start to reframe that. And there's this whole thing too, I think this is where the societal context comes in. And this is the feminist in me gets really mad because it's like, why can we not say how freaking amazing we are as individuals? You know, I used to do a lot of, one of the jobs I had was a negotiator. And I did some conference presentations. I was in the academic world this time. And so I was doing conference presentations about negotiating, how to negotiate for a job, for example, or a raise. And, you know, as I was doing research, I kept coming across all these statistics where, and it was shocking. It's like, you know, if a man and a woman are applying for the same job and there are 10 qualifications, the woman will only apply for that job if she meets all 10. The man will apply if he meets like 4. And it's like right there is where we hold ourselves back, where we don't claim, I think, the full parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see change. That's where I think a lot of work, and this is where, you know, people like trailblazers, so many women out there are having these conversations and are giving others permission to claim what's great about them. But what I often hear from clients is like, oh, well, and would that just come across as like arrogant? Or if I do too much self-care, you probably heard this. Isn't that too selfish?
Yeah.
I'm selfish.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what I know, I'm right there with you. So what I actually encourage my clients to do is to tell me what they can do that is selfish.
Yes.
Like, tell me what you can do that is selfish. And they are
Yeah.
so hesitant, right? Because
Yeah.
we've been taught that doing things for ourselves is somehow doesn't leave room for
Mhm.
you to do things for others. But it's like, I just said this on the first webinar of this series with Lucia Paxton yesterday. It's actually taking care of your needs helps you, helps those around you, and helps the world. Like
Absolutely.
what is good for you is good for everyone. Like, what if we looked at it like that?
Yes. It's so
Yeah.
true. Well, you can't drink from an empty well, is always that
Right.
metaphor that's used, right? And I think, Michelle Obama like said some things around this, didn't she, when she first got into office? There was a lot of, I remember reading
Mm.
some things a couple of years ago about how, she flat out said, I absolutely carve out time for myself, because if I'm not feeling whole, if I'm not feeling
Yeah.
fulfilled, if I'm not feeling rested, and I'm not self-caring, then how on earth can I give to everyone else?
Right, right. And it's like, one of the very real things for women is that there's not enough time, and that, I don't have time to do that. Well, if
Mhm.
the first lady of the United States of
Right?
America can make time, guess what, baby? You can make time too. And
Everybody can.
it's
Yeah.
it was a mind shift for me too. And for me, it had to come to this place, like you're saying, of self-honoring, of like, okay, all this other stuff that's taking up my time, I'm actually not doing it for me. I'm doing it because I'm worried that
Yes.
somebody's going to think something if I don't do it.
People pleaser
Yep.
syndrome all over the place. I know, right? It's so endemic.
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
My goodness. I love how we've gone from, this
Yes.
topic of embracing our bodies to really how it is so much more, right? It's all related, like how we see ourselves in our physical bodies and our confidence. And I'm right there with you, Sophia. I think it absolutely stems from this lack of really cherishing ourselves and
Mhm.
honoring who we are. And then it's societal, right? All the societal
Mhm.
influences. And you had also mentioned like the reparenting, which I am so passionate about. I do a
Mhm.
lot of that work, like probably like 50% of the work I do with women, to even get them to a place where their heart can begin to heal and they can begin to even open up to the
Yeah.
possibility of a romantic relationship again, is going back and, yeah, like nurturing that little child, what I call the playful child archetype,
Mm,
which when she's hurt is like the wounded child, right? She's just
absolutely.
not so playful. She don't want to play. She just wants to go in the corner and, eat ice cream and be sad. And
Yeah.
that's okay too. And we don't want her to stay there, because her like longing is this like complete expansion of unconditional love. So I'd love for you to talk more about like this reparenting and how it relates to embracing our bodies, to really like this
Yeah.
level of confidence and cherishing ourselves.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And the reparenting is very much like what you said. The way I see it with clients is where, and then with myself too. I mean, it's looking back and seeing, okay, what were those messages that I got as a kid? And here's the thing. I mean, and I've had many conversations with my mom in particular about this, because I've said to her, because none of it's malicious, again, one of the early
Right.
memories, here's an example from my life. I was always tall. I was always very athletic. So I was very strong. So some of my earliest memories are, and I'm the eldest of two, or eldest of three. I'm the older sister to younger sister and brother, and we'd be playing or whatever. And I remember my mom would say, Sophia, be careful. You don't know your own strength. You're going to hurt them.
Oh, wow.
And so I heard that as, oh my God, shame in my body. I'm unknowingly hurting someone. And it immediately felt like shaming. my mom was not doing it to shame me. It's not like she said, I've really got to take her down a notch. I mean, it was really like, Sophia, be careful. You guys are playing rough, and you're 2 years older than your sister and 4 years older than your brother. So, that's a lot when children are children, and like I could actually hurt them. Not intentionally, but again, we also don't know our own body strength for a while, right? We're still learning our kinesthetic selves. So that, I remember talking to my mom about that and saying, that was pretty like shame inducing. And she was like, really? And she was pretty devastated. And I said, I'm not saying this to make you feel bad, but it is interesting looking back at where this starts. And for me, this is the reparenting piece. It's really looking back, and is there anyone that we need to have conversations with to clear out some of that old, ugly energy? So for me, in my case, it was very important for me to have, and I continue to have, conversations with my mom in particular around, when this happened in my life, this was the impact it's had on me. And I want to share that with you because I've had this real insight, and know that I don't blame you, and I know it came from a good place. And here's what I need from you now to move forward, to let this go. So, I was talking with someone else recently, and she shared a story. For her, it was about her core wound is abandonment. And this is something that I know we've all seen parents do. It's like, all right, if the child is kind of dawdling or, focused on something else and the family wants to move on, and they say, all right, we're leaving you. We're leaving. Come on, bye-bye. And then they maybe start to walk away, and the child has to run and catch up. So again, seemingly normal, but it's interesting for this woman. She has this memory of that being done to her at a very early age. And her parents actually like got into the car and started to slowly drive away. And so for her, it created this core wound of abandonment.
Wow.
Right. And again, seemingly innocuous, certainly not done on purpose, but important to look back and reparent that, bring some healing to it. And with abandonment, the healing field is commitment. So it's almost like, with shame, you counter shame by honoring self and others. With abandonment, you counter it with commitment to others and to self. And then the other, I'll just share right now, because we're talking about the other core wound that we have is betrayal. And that can take many forms. And again, and then the healing field to betrayal is values, like living our values, not moral values, but like, the things that have to be present in our life for fulfillment. And the thing is, here's with these, what I love about this kind of the concept of the 3 core wounds, we all have all of them to some capacity. So, I mean, no one is immune to any of them. We've all got them. So it's very normal. So again, we take away the, oh my God, I'm so messed up in the brain and my heart because I have shame. No. We just all have this stuff. And so most of us have one of the 3 that is a little deeper. So for me, it's shame. And now that we see it, we get to start to heal it and move forward and move on. The reason I like to work with body stuff, with, women who are plus size or any women who really struggle with their body acceptance, is that I think body shame adds a deeper layer onto all of these.
Yeah.
And it's certainly what I've experienced. So, yeah. So I think it's an extra, if we think of all of, there's that whole metaphor of the onion. It's like we're all a big onion, and we just keep peeling layer by layer by layer. I think if there is a challenge with body acceptance and, truly loving our bodies and instead feeling very disconnected from our body, that is another layer on the onion that has to come off first. We have to start there, because if we don't address that, any other self-work isn't going to matter.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I've never heard anybody put it that way, that, when you start with the body, then, you can kind of dig into this deeper stuff. And what that brings up for me is like really visualizing kind of like the physicality of things, right? Like the body is very real. We are living in it. We can see it. And so, and it's like that outer layer of the onion is your skin, right? And then once you deal with that, then you can kind of go into these core wounds and heal those. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I've just never heard anybody put it like that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's and I do tend to think it's an inside out and outside in process, that we kind of like start from both like outside going in and inside going out. We kind of meet somewhere in the middle, but the body
Yeah.
piece has to be addressed, because
Mhm.
it really does serve as a barrier for so many. Um, and I mostly work with women. It is, it's interesting. I've been reading a lot about how body acceptance challenges and feeling disconnected from our bodies is really on the rise with men
Mm.
now, because they're starting to, I think, again, societally, marketing message wise, are really starting to see a lot of the similar messaging and images that women have been seeing forever. So
Yeah.
there's a real rise in men having challenges accepting their body. And the reason why this is, because I've had some people say, well, why does it matter? And it matters because if we live only from the neck up, if we are basically beheaded or like
Mhm.
totally disembodied, not in our bodies, then we are missing out on a huge part of ourselves that receives input from the world.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And
we live from the neck up only.
yeah, I'm so with you. I do a lot of my favorite type of work to do is in person with people through my Bali retreat, and then I do
Yeah.
VIP days. And
Yeah.
anytime I am with a woman and we're working through something, I always get them in their body. It's
Yes.
not just it's definitely it is about talking, but it's not just about talking. It's about connecting to
Yeah.
like the wisdom that is our body, and our
Yeah.
bodies know, right?
They do. They do. Well, and it's so fascinating when like there'll be clients when I first start working with them who have never connected with their body in that way. So I'll say, put your hand on your heart and, what do you
Yeah.
notice? And they're like, nothing. Like I don't notice anything. So there
Mhm.
can be a real block to even noticing, like, what do you think your body would say to you? Or what do you think your body, like, what do you feel in your stomach right now?
Mhm.
And people have a hard time, like, oh, well, it feels like there's tension and it feels like it's orange and it feels like there's snakes jumping around. Like a lot of people
Mhm.
can't even connect to, to, to see what's going on beneath the surface. And to access that huge wisdom that is in our body, our hearts, our instinct, our
Yeah.
whole intuition system lives in our body. I love that you
Yeah.
mentioned the VIP days, because what I do with my VIP day, with again, especially with women who we're doing a lot of body acceptance work with, and again, before we even get to dating and relationship, we have to do the body stuff first. There has to be body acceptance before we can even start about talking about going out and dating
Right.
with my clients. So we do half the day at, again, the kind of more traditional coaching stuff. We do a lot of inner guide work, all kinds of beautiful tools and techniques, and we do a lot of talking. The afternoon is spent at a beautiful place here in Toronto called Body Blitz, which is a women's only water circuit spa. And I do
Mm.
that very intentionally because I want us to spend the afternoon, first of all, in self-care. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
beautiful place, and it's got like all these different temperature pools. So there's like a
Mhm.
bathtub pool,
Yep.
and it's like huge,
I
right? And
love
then
those
there's,
places.
I know, and
I
the
miss mine
sauna.
in Vegas. Oh
Oh
my God. In
yes.
Las Vegas, there was a place that I went to
Oh,
that was like $7 a day.
oh,
It had
amazing.
like 10 rooms. It was double floored. It was crazy.
Oh,
And
yes. Oh
so
my God.
I
Wow,
love that
that
you do
sounds
this.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
Mhm.
we go and we like literally we sit in this beautiful place. So they're getting self-care, actually being quote unquote selfish. Although my coach said something that I always share with everyone else. It's not selfish, it's soulfish. We are soul filling.
Mm.
And then we're literally there in, whether we're in bathing suits or bikinis or, naked sometimes. It really depends on the comfort level of the person, in our bodies, having our bodies beautifully cared for by these healing waters. And we talk about being embodied, talk about being in our body. And then we do coaching right there while in this place that is geared to connect us to our bodies. And
Mm.
that's where a lot of beautiful work happens.
Yeah, it's so
Hmm.
important. It's so important. So I'm just, coming back to women who might be heartbroken during this time
Yes.
and not able to feel their heart, right? Maybe their heart is feeling numb. What would be your
Mm.
first suggestion for them, Sophia?
Oh, what a beautiful question. Anyone who's feeling numb, whether, numbness is, and this, Brene Brown says, we can't numb selectively. So you're either numb or you're not. So if you're numb in your
Mm,
heart, you're numb in all other areas of your life. And I certainly know this as a person who numbs with food, with sex, with um, uh, TV, binge watching.
yeah,
So, and people just alcohol, drugs. I mean, there's lots of ways we can numb, right? So
yeah,
if we are numb, if your heart is numb after heartbreak, it really, I think the best thing to do is there's a couple of things. And part of this is finding what works for you as an individual. But kind of the top stuff that works, absolutely self-care. So, for example, if it's a heartbreak situation and you haven't been in a relationship, people are, you're feeling nervous or scared about opening your heart up again,
yeah.
chances are you may not have had a lot of physical contact. So go and get a massage. Go to one of
Mhm.
those. I know here in Toronto we have, Pacific Mall, which is largely Asian, and you can go and get like a foot massage, a reflexology massage for like $5. So it doesn't even have to
Yeah,
be $100 massage. Get physical contact. We are tribal beings. We need
yeah.
we need physical touch, and a hug from friends and stuff is great, but there is something about getting deeper skin on skin contact. So I
Mhm.
know some cities now have cuddle coaches or people that come and can cuddle you. I mean,
Yeah, I've heard
whatever
of this.
whatever works. I think it's amazing, but physical touch is a huge one,
Yeah,
and that absolutely helps with the numbing. Basically, we want to like take care of ourselves. So even like going to a place like one of those spas where you can go and sit and be with. Um, what's so important is to be with my sisterhood, my sisters, my
yeah.
sisters by choice. So I do a lot, and I know that this is so important for me to keep me from numbing with food or all those
Yeah.
other ways that I numb. So, 2 or 3 times a week, I have actual in-person coffee dates with women who love me. I also do it through text. This is another thing to feel supported and loved and help combat that feeling of loneliness, like that hot loneliness of heartbreak, that feeling of isolation. This is where technology is great. I do intention setting every morning. I'm on a group text with
Mm.
two of my very, very close friends, and we check in the morning. And all of a sudden, it's first of all, it's a beautiful way to start the day. I've got these two beautiful souls who were all like just loving up on each other. And my intention for the day is blah, blah, blah. And oh, I've got this coming up today. I'm a little nervous. So my intention is to da, da, da. So we kind of there's a bit of an accountability, but there's also that connection, again, physical connection, and this is emotional connection and spiritual connection. So
Mm.
important.
It's so important. Oh my gosh. I
Mhm.
love that you brought that up, Sophia, because that is my number one too, is just that sisterhood. And one thing I'd love to say around that, because I know a lot of women have a hard time sometimes reaching out, right? And
Yes.
feeling like, oh God, I don't want to be needy. I don't want to be that friend.
Mm.
But here is the thing, ladies, like
Mhm.
when you are that friend, you give the other person permission to be that friend back to you.
Yes.
And it's such a beautiful opening when you just allow yourself to say, hey, I'm feeling lonely right now. I'm really desiring some connection. I thought of you. Like,
Mm.
do you want to do this? And it's just, it creates this openness that so many of us as women, we have the tendency to just shut down, especially when we're in heartbreak and feel like we've got to like, and this is the
Power
societal
through.
thing too. Yeah. It's like, we got to
Oh,
do it alone. And like, oh God, wham, wham, poor me. Well, okay, no,
no.
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 Like, this is a very real soul level pain,
Yeah.
and it is not to be just shoo-shooed under the carpet like some dust. Like, this is real, and women want to be there for each other. Like,
Yeah.
you actually are giving a gift when you say, I need you.
Yes. It's this whole concept of asking for help, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I was raised by parents who were immigrants, and it was like, if it's not hard, if it's not grueling, if you don't have to work your ass off, then it
Yeah.
doesn't count. It doesn't count. And it's like,
Yeah.
what? That's another thing I've been reparenting.
Oh my
So,
God, me too. Me too. Because
right?
I think we were talking about this, Sophia, when we
Yeah.
first connected, of like my maternal side of the family is farmers. So I actually
Yes.
grew up like as a 12-year-old working in the harvest, in the cherry
Yeah.
harvest field. Like,
Mhm.
and my grandmother and my mom still, like, I know it's going to happen when I go home for the holidays again. If
Yeah.
they're sitting for too long, relaxing,
Oh,
they will
yeah.
say, gosh, I should do something productive, shouldn't I? And I'm like, what are
Hmm.
you gonna do? Like, just
Yeah.
like, this is the holidays. We're supposed to sit around and drink wine, you know? And
Oh,
oh my God, I totally had to reparent that for myself too.
yes. Yeah.
Big time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's a huge mindset shift, like that it can be there can be ease and flow and it still is worthwhile. What? So again, yeah, exactly. All these like old beliefs that we have to shift before we can even, right? Before we can even get to start talking about dating again. Because
Yeah.
the thing is, it's all tied together. Because if we believe that, and then we start dating people and we start meeting potential partners, and you go in with all this attitude around, well, it's got to be hard to be worth it, then I know that what we tend to do is we keep repeating the same patterns with, in my
Yeah.
case, with men. And this is when women date emotionally unavailable men, and we kind of get into this pattern of, well, it's okay. Marriage is hard work. Like, how many times do we say that?
Oh my
It's
goodness.
hard work. Relationships are hard work. And it's like,
Mhm.
but do they really have to be? Why do we just assume that that's true? It's part of how we've been
Right.
raised. There's a rhetoric around this of hard work equals, it makes it worthwhile, makes it worthy. Oh,
Yeah. Oh my
that
God.
shit, we got to let go of that.
I'm so with you. One thing that I say to my clients is, it might be challenging, but it doesn't have to be so damn hard.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I have a version of that. I say, it can be, I can say it can be complex, but it shouldn't be complicated.
Oh, that's cute. I love that.
Yeah, because there's something, and there's a nuance, right, in between these words. So yeah. I was gonna
I
say,
have something that I want to
yeah,
ask you
please. Hmm.
as we're, getting towards the end. It's something I just popped into my head. I remember last year, actually next month, last year, around my birthday,
Yeah.
which is in January, me and my friend were driving to Sedona to celebrate my birthday. And um, do you know Sedona? Have you heard of
I
Sedona,
love
Sophia?
Sedona. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So beautiful. For anybody that
Mhm.
hasn't been there, go. It's like my spiritual place. And when we were driving, we just set the intention to have like intense conversations about our childhood and like
Mhm.
things that came up in the way that we are programmed, this whole programming thing. And we had this deep conversation about remembering how our mothers were
Mm.
bodies.
Mhm.
So I would love for you to speak to that part.
Oh gosh, yes. That's a huge thing,
I
isn't it?
know. I just wanted to make sure to get it in because I
Yeah,
think
I love it.
sometimes we think that it's like, oh God, why do I view my body this way? And we make ourselves
Oh,
wrong.
yes. And
You
it's
know?
actually what we've seen as
Yes.
our primary role models is often our moms. Yeah, absolutely. My mom she was never she wasn't a big one, but there was like, she had like these 20-25 pounds that she struggled with. And like, we knew it,
Mm.
and I think, be interesting. Actually, I will talk to her about this at Christmas, because we actually haven't talked about this piece, because it's always like focusing on her comments on my body. Because here's
Yes.
the thing, because both my parents are in the medical field. So
Mm.
for them, there's always comments and conversations around quote unquote health and weight as it relates to health. And I actually know now a lot more about this and how we can be healthy at every size. I believe in health at every size. And I believe in
Yes.
moving my body joyfully and eating food that I feel is wholesome and feeds my soul. And I also believe in intuitive eating. So,
Me too. Me too. We
yeah.
could probably do a whole webinar on that.
Oh, we could, absolutely. So the thing with my parents, it would be like, my mom would, like, we'd all eat dinner and then we'd all have dessert, but my mom wouldn't. And it was like, so there was a difference there. And it was interesting. I have a friend who brought this up. She has a little boy. He's, I think, 6 or 7 now. But when he was probably about 5, she was saying that, because she was, wanting to lose some weight, she was choosing not to have desserts. And all of a sudden one day her son was like, Mom, why aren't you having dessert? And she was hit in this moment of, oh my God, this is one of those moments where I could set my son up or be like a huge detriment, like basically set him up or screw him up when it comes to women and food and eating.
Yeah.
And she was like, she kind of stalled out and she was like, oh my God, what do I do? How do I explain to him that, and I think what she ended up doing was, and it was, I think it's a continuing conversation that they've had, but basically, explain to him that bodies process food differently and, made it around like tried to make it as a positive spin as possible, as opposed to, well, mommy doesn't want to get fat, so therefore she's not eating dessert. So, I mean, even that sentence, I cringe saying it, not at the word fat, but how many women do that? This is going to happen at everyone's place at Christmas, right? Oh my God, well, I'm just going to splurge today, but tomorrow I'll go for a run. Or, oh my God, did I earn this cherry pie? Oh, I can eat this because where we constantly justify everything we eat.
Yeah.
This all ties in. And that rhetoric, that's what we often get exposed to when we are kids.
Yeah.
And then that carries through and we start to think that that's normal. Like, oh, have I earned this French fry? Why do you have to earn a French fry? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy making.
What a stressful life, man.
Oh my God.
I took 297 steps. Let me eat a French fry.
Right. And how often do we do this especially and I have to say, I've become very annoying to people in my life who are less acquainted with the work that I do, because I'm like, excuse me, in my presence, we do not have that conversation. You get to eat your food and you get to enjoy it. And I've become so bossy about it.
Oh my God, me too.
Because I'm like, we're done having that conversation. If you want a piece of cake, eat a freaking piece of cake. If you want a second piece of cake, go and eat the cake. Like, don't tell me about how much you have to do to earn it. Oh my God.
I have to tell you, okay, I love that we're on the same path. So the same friend that was driving to Sedona with me, and we're discussing, the differences between our moms and the households that we were raised in about body image. I very gratefully, my mom never talked about oh my God, my body, or how it's, she just never talked about it. And that was beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
In ways, the parts for me that were tough is that she disowned the sexuality of the body.
Oh,
and so that's where I've had to heal. But I feel grateful that I didn't have the oh my God, you got to watch your weight stuff.
Yeah.
What happened for me was actually in college. This is how I never worried about my body or how it looked or anything. It just didn't cross my mind until college, when I'd gained what do they call it? The freshman 15 or something.
Yeah.
Eating all the good desserts, it's there. I'm going to eat it. Yeah. Delicious. And French fries and all that good stuff. And it was great, And my boyfriend actually came, he would drive over frequently from Seattle and visit me. And he was he poked my tummy and said something about oh, you're gaining weight. And I was just like, wow, and it hurt so much. And I'd never, ever experienced that before. So I just want to honor anybody that whatever part in your life this hit you. I think we all at some point have this oh, my body is not right, or it's wrong, or I need to do something about it. And it's interesting, because that was my story. My other friend, her story was definitely similar to yours, Sophia. Her mom always kind of had that 20-pound thing, where she just always wanted to kind of lose a little bit of weight. And so my friend actually, after that trip, later on in the year, we were at her house, and she was going on, and we were eating food and on about how she's gained some weight and blah, blah, blah. And I blew up. I lost my shit. I was like, okay, you need to stop doing, I pretty much screamed at her, and then I paused and I got into my little more conscious thought, since I've done a lot of work, I know you have too, and we're able to do this now, where I paused and I looked at her and I said, I'm so sorry I blew up. It's just, I love you so much, and I don't ever want to hear you talk bad about your body. And she was just okay.
Yes. Well, and sometimes we
We
need
gotta do
that shocking experience. Like, absolutely, you know, if it
Yeah.
starts to change that, because here's the thing, here's what's so dangerous is that for her, it was probably just like no big deal.
Right.
Like we don't question it anymore. It becomes normal for us to only see size 0 in every single
Yeah.
um image on TV and in media and in
Yeah.
magazines. It becomes normal and accepted and actually almost like a point of pride to talk
Yeah.
about how I have earned this piece of food or not. Kind
Yeah.
of like it's become a source of pride for us to talk about how damn busy we are. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Like these are things that we need to let go of. And
Oh
I
my
think
God.
by when we do it, to what you said earlier, we give permission for everyone else around us. Maybe we scream, maybe we do it with compassion. I have done both, like you.
Yeah.
We give permission for other people to start to question what they have assumed is just the way it is and without thinking. So we're bringing consciousness to all of this.
I love it. And here's something that I just remembered. One of the women who went to Bali with me the first year I did it, she brought something that's so awesome into the group where she said, there is no body bashing allowed.
Yes.
And I love that
Yes.
term, body bashing.
Body
She's like, it's
bashing.
just
No.
not allowed. And like, so for those of you watching this, you can do this with your own friends. Like you can say, hey, are you all willing to set a rule that we do not body bash? And
Yes.
anytime anybody starts to talk about how fat they are, how gross their bodies are, how they need to earn this piece of cake, or oh my God, I'm, like anything about the body and
Yeah.
food and like what you shouldn't be doing, like just call them out in a
Yes.
loving way, but like we need to be in this together as women.
Absolutely. Well, and I'll just add to that because what's so important about doing that and changing the words that we use is that our words actually, and I know this from neuroscience, but our words and what we think actually it wires our brain. So we get to choose: do I want to make my brain stronger in self-hate? Or do I want to like let that track be as deep as it is and start to create a new track, a new path in my brain that is actually about honoring, that is about commitment, that is about living my fulfillment, living my happiness, and starting to let that other soundtrack die out and choose to live from a more self-loving, self-acceptance place. And this is why what we say matters so much, because every time we say bad shit, we're making that muscle stronger in our brain. Basically, it's not a muscle, it's a neural pathway, but whatever. For the metaphor, it's like you're building that muscle in the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it becomes just in your subconscious, like those
Just automatic
things. And
yeah.
I know firsthand that this stuff works because I did a lot, and I could still do more, but around money for me, where I do not ever use expensive or cheap, those words anymore. And anytime people do, it's like, whoop, like it just comes to my awareness when they do. I don't judge them. But I'm just like, oh, like it's there, and it's amazing, you guys, how fast this stuff can work if you just really practice it. And so for my example, like anything that I want to purchase, it's like I either want to purchase it or I don't, or I have the money or I don't. It's not cheap or expensive, it's all relative.
And you're taking the charge out of it. And it is what it is, like taking the charge out of food or taking the charge out of how your body looks. It's not like it has to be earned or not, or it's good or it's bad. It's just food. It's just my body. And God, isn't there something just so like relaxing
I love that. What a
about
relief.
that?
Yeah. It just makes me want to like go and take a nap and be like, yay, this
like
is
I love my body. I carries me around. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, this has been so beautiful, Sophia.
Yeah,
I swear we could talk forever. We must do this again.
Absolutely.
For sure. There's so much we can dive into. And I love all of your beautiful wisdom and your thoughts and your stories. And I know that the women watching this are going to get so much out of it. And I'm really excited for them to hear about your gifts. But before we go there, is there anything that you just feel like, any last words that you'd like to share around this piece of how embracing our body can be a healing tool?
Yeah, well, I'm going to leave everyone with one practical tip. And this one was huge for me. It came from One of the body positive activists is Jess Baker. She has a blog called The Militant Baker, and she's fantastic. A real
Mm.
shit disturber, totally like my kind of woman. I love her.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
her book is called Things No One Tells Fat Girls. And so I read it.
Mm.
And one of the things she suggested that I implemented and that I really like, I would love to see everyone who listens to this implement it is fill your social media and feeds. So I did this with Instagram very intentionally with like follow people who have body diversity. Follow
Mhm.
people who have ethnic diversity, because right, a lot of times we tend to, follow our friends or like celebrities or whatever, and so we keep reinforcing that
Mhm.
this is normal, and this is the only way to be. So if I don't look like that, therefore there must be something wrong with me, and it keeps making us other. It keeps making us hate our bodies. It keeps making us,
Yeah.
perpetuate that negative force in our lives and in our perceptions. So especially when it comes to body acceptance, I filled my Instagram feed with like Ashley Graham, Tess Holliday, Jess Baker, tons of plus size models, tons of plus size fat activists. And it's amazing how it shifted my perception, because at first it was weird. Like Jessamine is this plus size Black woman who does yoga, and she is fantastic,
Oh,
and
cool.
she's
I
like
love.
doing warrior pose and headstands, and her rolls are everywhere, and at first it's weird. You're like,
Mm.
oh, you're not supposed to do that. You're not allowed to do
Mm.
yoga if you're above a size 4, and I can see a belly roll. And then now I'm like, it's
Interesting.
weird when there aren't rolls, and it's like, it's just so freeing because it makes
Yeah.
all bodies okay. It starts to actually get, what it does in our brain is it actually starts to have us let go of judgment, which is
Yeah.
like public enemy number one as far as I'm concerned. Judging ourselves and judging others, right? It just makes everything ugly and nasty.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, so populate your Instagram feeds with diversity and like intentionally pick
Mm.
one or two, and do that. I think that is huge. And I also want to say, Jess, you are fantastic. Thank you so much for
Mm.
organizing this and bringing this resource. You guys don't, you may or may not know you guys, but Jess has done so much work to
Oh.
organize the 15 coaches and healers, to set up these interviews, to put together the amazing free resources that you guys are going to have access to. I was looking at them all today. They are incredible gifts. And
Mm.
all for free. And Jess, I mean, you are bringing so much love and light into the world with the work you're doing. Thank you. You are going to change lives with this, what you've done
Mm.
today, and with putting together all of our free resources for everyone. So huge
Mm.
props to Jess.
Thank you so much,
Mhm.
Sophia. That feels so good. And
Yeah.
I adore you and I love you. And it's
Mm.
been a joy and yeah, a lot of work, but it's so much fun bringing people together and all of the amazing people like you and coaches and experts. And like, we need as many resources as we can get. And I truly take a stand for, we do not have to do this alone. And heartbreak
Yes.
it fucking sucks.
Yeah, it does. It totally does.
It sucks,
It
and it's
does.
and we can cry about it and we can pout about it and we can get angry, and I encourage that, and then we can move on and
Yes.
we can open up our hearts again.
Yeah.
And so thank you so much for providing these amazing people tuning in with your wisdom. I just freaking love you, and I wish I could see your face, and
I
I
know.
know. So you guys are gonna have to go, and when you download the Holiday Heartbreak Survival Kit, you're going to have to find Sophia's face and then grab her gift. And so, Sophia, why don't you tell them a little bit about your gift so they know what to get
Yeah.
excited about?
Well, they're gonna get a whole bunch of gifts. So
Yay.
there's a video that I've made for you guys where I kind of walk you through a couple different exercises that I do. One of them is called the Curvy Confidence Booster, which is all about starting to tune into your unique confidence boosting characteristics. Again, a lot of times it's so easy for us to say what we love about other people and inspire them to confidence, but we don't do a great job of doing it for ourselves. So this exercise takes you through that process of how to turn it a little more inward. And then we take that information and we will turn it into basically like a touchstone that you can use in your life to connect to that place of confidence. Perhaps there's a little sassiness. Perhaps there's some boldness. You know, those parts of yourself that are just longing to come out a little more in your life. So there's an exercise that'll lead you through that. And then what I've done too is when you sign up for that, I think I've got it set up so a day later, I'm going to send you another lovely gift. So, yeah, so a lot of that to look forward to.
Beautiful. And I am so excited for people to grab that. So you guys make sure you go. I put the link in the chat box. It's bit.ly/heart holiday. And you can get Sophia's beautiful resource once you download that kit, completely free, generous gift from her. Find her face and then click on.
Well, it's my body because I shared one of my.
Yes, I love that photo. Find her beautiful body and the red lacy lingerie.
That's right.
So sexy. You guys are going to be so inspired. And you're right. Thank you for that reminder. So you will for sure easily find Sophia's part of the guide.
That's right. I'm taking a stand for showing different body types in beautiful, classy, sexy positions.
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought that's the picture I would use.
It's perfect. I love it. And I love you. And
I love
again,
you.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
grateful. Thank you so much, Sophia.
Oh, such a joy, Jess.
All right.
All right. Have a wonderful holiday to you and to everyone else listening.
You as well. Happy holidays, everyone. And sending you so much love and tenderness around your hearts.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Bye.